Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Writers Chat. And this is the place where writers like to gather together and we talk about all things writing, about writing, for writers, and by writers. So we're really glad to see you're here. Welcome to those of you that are in the chat. It's wonderful to see some of the familiar faces and a few of you we haven't seen for a while. So one of which is my co-host, Johnny Alexander. We're glad to have her back from her travels and to be with us today. My name's Jean Wise. I'm one of the other co-hosts. And our third co-host, Bethany Jetts, monitoring the chat. She's in the chat room. So we'll welcome that. And welcome if you're taking the time to watch us on replay. We're always glad that you spend some time with us that way and leave comments on that. So I'm going to turn it over to Johnny to introduce our special guest today and start our discussion. Go ahead, Johnny.
Hi, everybody. Our special guest is Carrie Booth Schmidt, and Carrie is just a wonderful, wonderful person. She loves my books, and so I love Carrie.
I do love your books, yes.
I love her. And really, that's kind of how we got to be acquainted. She's an avid reader, a book reviewer, story addict. I love her bio. Kissing books fan, book boyfriend collector, and a cool aunt. And she also loves Jesus and the story a whole lot. Carrie co-founded the Christian Fiction Readers Retreat and also owns Just Read Publicity Tours. She lives in Kentucky with her husband, Eric. She can be found lurking at various blogs and websites because she can't stop talking about books. But her main home is the blog
Guilty.
she started in 2015. Reading is my superpower.org. I mean, you can't get any better than that. And I was looking through it this morning, and she actually mentions The Secret Garden, which is, one of my all-time favorite children's books. And so it's like, that's
The Secret Garden.
And then
Carrie, that is such a fun bio.
Thank you.
That alone is a tip for all of us, to put personality into your bio like that is great. Go ahead, Johnny. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Well, and here's another line that's on the bio in the website that wasn't in the official bio. She's a little bit Yankee and a little bit y'all. I can relate to that too. I mean, but also Carrie and I then really got to talking face to face or Zoom
Yeah.
face with her dad, because I wrote a novella that has to do with the secret city in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where they did a lot of the research and built the atomic bombs that actually were dropped over Hiroshima. Mm-hmm. And her dad grew up in Oak Ridge, and her aunt is pictured with several women on the cover. Okay, now which book is it, Carrie? Because I'm going to get her.
The Girls of the Atomic City. It's my grandmother. Yeah, my grandma. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So she and her dad graciously got on Zoom with me, and I just got to hear about his growing up experiences. And that was after the war and all, but still, right. It was really fun to talk with them and to talk to Carrie and get to know her and in a new and a different way. So that's really fun.
We had so much fun. Thank you for that.
Have fun. And that book comes out in January. So.
Woo!
All right, so Carrie's here to talk to us about blog tour do's and don'ts. So I'm just going to turn it over to Carrie, and we'll, chat and see what we can about what to do when we're on blog tours.
Sure. So I wanted to address this a couple of different ways. First of all, obviously not everybody hires a tour company like Just Read or something else. They kind of gather their own little conglomeration of bloggers and reviewers and that they're either familiar with or they just don't know where to start. So I kind of wanted to start there. If you're kind of doing this on your own, what are some kind of protocols and do's and don'ts? The first do is give them plenty of time. If you're requesting it, from different reviewers and bloggers, because most bloggers and reviewers that I know, like myself, we plan our review and our posting calendars at least 4 months out.
Wow.
So if you're asking like 2 weeks before release day and you're like, can you get this review? It's probably not going to happen. And we feel bad about it. So don't make us feel bad. Don't ask us 2 weeks before your book's coming out. We understand emergencies and we're usually happy to help out. But if everybody asked us to do that, it would be a disaster. So reading is my superpower, but even that is pushing it. So, and another thing that I strongly recommend to authors is to do your research on those bloggers. First of all, the important thing is to find the right bloggers. And there are a couple of resources that I recommend. The first is Amanda Gainey. She used to run the blog Christian Self-Esteem. That's hard to say. It's a darling name, but it's hard to say. Christian Self-Esteem. And she now is not blogging anymore. She's doing author assisting and things like that. But she runs a wonderful Twitter account at Amanda Gainey, Geaney. And she has lists upon lists upon lists upon lists of bloggers, authors, things like that. So if you go to her Twitter account and then click on her lists, she's got a wealth of resources for you that she's done all the legwork and everything.
Can you spell her last name one more time?
Sure. Geaney.
Okay.
At Amanda Gainey on Twitter. Mm-hmm.
She does a follow thing too, and right. So I know that sometimes she pops up, and I'll try to click on all the names she's got there. And if I'm not them already, then I
yeah. Even just following her on Twitter when she does like the Friday follows, or she'll do like follow these authors on Twitter, follow these bloggers, things like that. So yeah, she's a great resource on that. Another resource is on Facebook, and it's the Avid Readers of Christian Fiction Facebook group. And if you go to the group and you're a member, usually on the left-hand side, there's a list of things. If you click on files, and it'll bring up a bunch of different documents, different resources that they have. And there's one called Review Bloggers. Click on that, and there's a whole list. So that's a great resource as well.
And those are for fiction only, or they're nonfiction?
Well, I mean, most of us will do both.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. The group is geared for fiction.
Okay.
But most of us will do both. So, yeah. But then that's a good point, because that brings up my next point, which is to even then research those bloggers. If you get a list of the bloggers, still go back and research them, because you don't necessarily want just a bunch of bloggers. That's not going to help. I always say more isn't always better. Sometimes it's just more. So, I think sound's muted for everybody else. Are you all on?
We're here.
Oh, good. Yay, you're here. Okay. All right. So more isn't always better. Sometimes it's just more, from the movie Sabrina. So you want to, look at those bloggers. Are they active in sharing their posts? Do they share them on social media? Because that's going to give you the most exposure for what you're doing.
Should you look at their expertise, or if they're influence, or do you think the smaller bloggers also help too?
Oh, the smaller bloggers help too. We all started somewhere. My blog in 2015, when I started it, I thought the only person that's ever going to read this is my mom, and maybe my husband, because I make him. So, and it started and it was pretty pitiful, but the smaller bloggers, if they're consistent, they'll eventually get to be the larger bloggers, and then some other smaller bloggers will come in behind them. So
I find out often they have a different audience, and so one of theirs leads to somebody else, which leads to somebody else too.
Exactly.
So it's a network.
Yeah, exactly. We all have, there's overlap in the community, but there's always, somebody that's on my blog that hasn't branched out and discovered other people's yet, and vice versa. So, yes, but as far as their expertise, look at, not only do you have to do the research and find them, but then go to their blogs and find their review policies. Most of us will have one. If they don't, they're fair game. They'll learn and they'll put a review policy up there. But most of us have a list somewhere of either how we want you to contact us, so that we keep them all in the same place, what our lead time is for our, how much time you need to give us, and what we do and don't want to read. I think on mine, I say, please don't send me your vampire novels. I'm probably not going to want to read them. You're wasting your time and mine if you do. So I think, it's important to do a little bit of research. It takes some time, but in the long run, you want to find the best match for you and for your book, because that's what you're wanting. You're wanting it to be beneficial. Any questions so far? Good. Okay.
Yeah, I think this has been great because it makes you really stop and think about the organizing the steps ahead of time.
Yes, that's one of the keys, is planning ahead and organizing ahead.
Well, someone said it's like planning a wedding, planning a wedding. You just have to, get all your ducks in a row so that it goes smoothly.
Yeah, exactly. And then please, to save us time, and we'll love you forever, when you are doing a guest spot on our blog, an interview, or you want us to review your book, please send us your author bio, any links you want us to include, and your headshot, because it saves me so much time surfing around. We can find it, but it takes us longer, and we're not sure we found the one you want us to use. One time I was doing an interview with Christiane Hunter, author of Christian historical fiction, and I grabbed her blurb off of Amazon because I assumed that would be correct, and they didn't realize it wasn't correct. And so they're like, "Where did you get it?" I'm like, "Well, Amazon." So that ended up working out well because she got to change it. But sending all that kind of stuff helps.
Well, can I just interject as an author?
Yeah, please.
You should have that information all in one file, and then you can just send it. And that's what I would do for each of my books. And I had the blurb for the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Links, my bio, usually two, like a long bio and a short bio, because different things. Actually, a short blurb and a longer blurb, because sometimes you don't know what the person wants. And if you just have all that, and then you send that along with either the guest post or the whatever question answer, whatever thing else, you're just way ahead of, you've already got all that in one place, and you just send it.
Yeah. And the blogger will love you forever. We love it when authors send us all that and make our lives easier. And then kind of related to that, and I wanted to interject here again, Johnny, I love how you have everything on your link tree. Because that makes it so nice. It's all in one place. You just can send people there, and it saves me time putting all the links in too. Like, go here.
Yeah, the link tree is free, so there's a paid plan too, but I just use the free one, and it does.
Is that Instagram? Is linked to you can use it any place.
You can use it on Instagram. I think that's probably the purpose when it started, but
I think you're right. I forgot.
It's anywhere. Yeah, you can just, as long as you have your link tree link, and it's linktr.ee, I believe, isn't it, for the website? It's kind of weird.
Yeah. But that is nice, and you can put whatever social media links you want there, and you can name them different things. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and change them. You can add new things if you have a sale or something that you want to do. You can just put the buy link right there, and people will have that all in one place. So kind of building off of that, the next thing is make sure you do have a website and social media links. I know that sounds self-explanatory, but you wouldn't believe how often I go to try to find, an author's information, and there's nothing, or the website doesn't have the social media links. So then I have to look them up at every place and see if they have them, and they might not. And it may be an old one they're not using anymore. So please have a website and social media links, and send them to your bloggers. They'll love you. And thank you very much.
I think that's been a lesson already for me today about be sure things are updated. You talk about updated your bio.
Yeah.
We have our bio all over the place. And I think your example of the Amazon story is great, but then be sure your website's ready to go, and the links are active, because sometimes things get broken. So that's a great point.
Yes. And update your pictures. Yes. Yes, exactly. And also, while we're on that subject, a media kit page on your blog is wonderful. If you're not going to have something like, a document that you send, have a separate page on your blog for bloggers to go to, or media, magazines that want to interview you, podcasts, things like that. And list your long bio and your short bio and all of your social media links, and have file, your pictures there that they, one or two that they can choose from and download. Becky Wade, that's a great example of a media kit. Pepper Basham, those are both authors that I refer people to look at their media kits often. So yes, and make sure the pictures are high enough resolution.
Those names written down. Could you repeat those names that have good examples of media?
Sure. Becky Wade.
Becky with a Y?
Yes. And Wade, W-A-D-E.
Okay.
And then Pepper, like salt and pepper. Basham, B-A-S-H-A-M.
Thank you.
Sure. And there should be, usually on their menu, it should say media or media kit, and you can go download that. Also, if you are doing your own blog tour, organizing your bloggers, you need to let them know that per the FTC, they must include a disclaimer that they received a complimentary copy of the book and were not required to write a positive review. And stay away from the words "in exchange for," because that'll get it kicked out of Amazon, or at least it's more likely to get kicked out of Amazon and retail sites, because they consider that a payment of sorts. So the wording is very particular there, but they must do that, or they can get fined lots of money if someone decides that they have too much time on their hands and wants to go researching everybody that doesn't have the disclaimer. So, but there are people out there that do. So, and then once the posts start coming up, share them. It'll make the bloggers' day. I know this firsthand. They'll be squealing to all their, fangirl friends going, "Oh my goodness, Johnny Alexander shared my post today." So, we are all fangirls at heart. So yes, exactly. Any questions about kind of organizing your own?
What do you do to thank the bloggers other than sharing their posts? Is there other ideas of thanking them or appreciating them afterwards?
That's a good question. I think just as simple as telling them thank you. Even if they didn't write a positive review, which you hope they will, but to Leslie, is there a place we can find an example of the disclaimer to use? Maybe. You can go to readingismysuperpower.org on any of my my reviews. Look for the book review, and at the end of my review, I always have my disclaimer there, and that's the easiest place off the top of my head to send you. So
the reason I asked, go ahead, Johnny.
Sure.
You put that disclaimer on each post, not just as a general on your blog thing then?
I have one on the blog as well, that also includes my Amazon affiliate status, and that I'm not going to recommend something for them to purchase if I don't like it, blah blah blah, all that official stuff that's just ridiculous that you have to say it. I also have a separate page on my blog for all the disclosures that I can think of to cover myself for everything. But at the end of every review, I always put that disclaimer, and then I put a shorter version of it on any place like Goodreads, Amazon. I don't get into all the details. I just say, look, I voluntarily reviewed a complimentary copy of this book. And so far I haven't had any problems with Amazon rejecting my reviews or anything. So
good. We have a couple questions over in the chat about setting up media kits. Do you have any suggestions or tips on what to include and what should be involved in this?
It can be very simple. So I would recommend including, like I said, it can just be a page on your blog. It doesn't have to be on your website. I'm sorry. It doesn't have to be a big fancy, PDF and all of that. I would include a short bio and a long bio, depending on, how much space the blogger has. And I would include any social media links that you want them to prioritize. And 1 or 2, 3, or just one, if all you have is one good headshot that you like, put it there, make sure it's the high resolution version. You can lower the size of it, edit the actual size on the page, but they should be able to view the image and save the high resolution. And yes, go to see Becky Wade's website, Pepper Basham. I believe Pepper's is pepperbasham.com, and Becky Wade's is probably beckywade.com, but I don't know that for sure.
See if I can find them.
Yeah.
And then Catherine wanted to know about, do reviewers accept beta books? Something's in process, not maybe final.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Most of us, if we've been doing it long enough, we have seen books in every and all stage. So you would not believe, I used to review for RT Book Reviews when it existed, which is how I started reading Johnny's books as well. And we reviewed 4 months out. So we would get the copy before really it had even been through final editing. And so it was in all kinds of crazy stages, and you just kind of plow through it and know it's not been edited yet. Especially if you tell them, look, this isn't, edited. If you're looking for beta readers, which is a little different, it's not going to be something that they put a review on, Goodreads and Amazon yet. If you're looking for an endorsement, or you just want them to see, is this any good? Does anything need work? Then yeah, you can just ask them. Most of us, if we have time, we'll be happy to do that for you. Yeah. Back to what you were saying about thanking the bloggers and reviewers. I think just a simple thank you. If some people will do a giveaway, like they'll have a Rafflecopter or something, and the bloggers can put their links in after they've done the post, and then you can just draw a random, let Rafflecopter do the work, and it'll, you can give them a $5 gift card or something, and that's
I like that. That's kind of a neat idea, to be all honest. I've seen people put together something. I have a friend that wrote a book on the Titanic. Ooh. And she put together some historical, like tea on the Titanic.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was really kind of that's something related as a gift idea. That was cool.
We love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I had another friend who is a photographer and wrote a devotional based on a lot of her photography, and she put together beautiful bookmarks and note cards.
Yeah.
She's a handmade note card, which was really a nice extra step. But better believe I'll review her next book.
Yeah, exactly. Send them a thank you card in the mail, with a bookmark or a little sticker or some tea, a little packet of tea or something, and just something special, and they'll remember that. And they'll be fangirling, I got mail from, whoever. So
that's cool. That's cool.
So I also wanted to scoot over a little bit to talk about if you are paying for a blog tour from a company like mine, like Just Read Publicity Tours. We also recommend a lot Prism book tours, Singing Librarian tours, and Celebrate Lit. Okay. So those are the ones that we work with the most.
We're probably going to ask you to repeat this so we can get them in the chat.
Sure. I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, you're fine.
That little bit Yankee of mine is speaking fast. I got to go back to my y'all side and slow down.
I like all y'all. My mom used to say that. So
yeah.
All y'all.
Yeah. Would you repeat those again then so we get
Of course. So my own company is Just Read Publicity Tours. Our website is justreadtours.com.
Okay.
And we also work a lot with Prism book tours, Singing Librarian book tours, and Celebrate Lit.
The Singing Librarians, that's a catchy title. Well, all of them are. Yeah. All of them are really great titles, but those are great. Okay, thank you for those. Those are good sites for us to check out too.
Absolutely. And so again, the first thing I wanted to say, as I did, if you're organizing your own, if you're, paying for an organized blog or social media tour, give us plenty of time. we are, Just Read, for instance, is full all the way through March, and almost full through about June. So, you've got to plan ahead. We want to help as much as we can, and there are times we squeeze something in, but it's to your advantage and to our advantage if we have as much time as possible to plan and run signups for as long as possible and get the most bang for your buck. Whereas if we're squeezing it in, you're starting out at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wanted to say here too, there's been a lot of talk recently that podcasts are the only way to go now and blog tours are ineffective. And I know I sound a little biased considering I own a blog tour company, but I just don't think that's true. I think podcasts are a new thing, and any kind of tour group needs to be always looking at the market. It's changing. You can't just keep doing the same thing and expect to keep growing and doing the most effective tours for your clients. So you need to be changing. Podcasts are a new avenue, and that's definitely something that you want to add in. But blog tours are still just as effective as they've always been, in my opinion. And sometimes they're even more effective because they reach an audience that isn't going to be reached by podcasts or by social media. So the key to an effective campaign is to diversify the audience. So if you have, run a blog tour, maybe run a social media tour as well, because those are going to be two different audiences, even with the same tour company. So you want your book, the key is to get your book everywhere all at once so that people continue to talk about it. They see it in their minds, and they're like, oh yeah, I keep seeing that book everywhere. I really need to pick it up. So I would just encourage you, yes, podcasts are great, obviously. Incorporate those where you can, but also don't write off, blog tours, social media tours either, because there's proof that they're still very effective.
Can you talk a little bit about a social media tour? I'm
Sure.
assuming that's putting memes up or in some sort of organized fashion or some sort of social media presence, but can you give us some tips on that?
Sure. So for Just Read, we have a couple of different types of social media tours. We have Instagram tours, which are, like it sounds, just focused on Instagram. And what that is, that's going to involve probably more print copies that you'll need to send, because the key is for the bloggers to create a stylized image of the book, real pretty with props and all of that kind of stuff, to really set your book off in an eye-catching way so that people are going through their feeds and they're like, ooh, that's pretty, I want that. And there's always information in the caption about the book. Our tours always include how to purchase it. And there's a component where sometimes there's a giveaway, usually a giveaway with that. And so the participants will, like the thing, comment, share, and even Instagram's always changing. We just found out that Instagram's going to start hiding likes. So that's something that the owner of that account can see, but nobody else can. So we're even shifting now how we do Instagram tours to accommodate for that. So it's always a learning curve and a learning process. We also do something called takeover tours, where we just take over all of social media. That's kind of a Just Read thing that we started. And we usually do Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Sometimes we have Pinterest. Sometimes we've got YouTube. But those are the main ones. And those can either be graphics like memes, like you were talking about, or they can take a picture with the book if there's enough print copies to go around. We usually take some of the pictures for our hosts that don't have the capabilities to do that, or they don't have enough print copies and they don't know how to make graphics, and we'll do that and they can use ours. And so that just kind of explodes the book out everywhere so that everyone's seeing it always. And that's really what you want, is for the book to just keep popping up everywhere, so that people can't get away from it. So yeah. But I would also say, as a tip, that covers are key with social media. It's not necessarily that it's a bad cover, but some covers just don't work well on social media. And so that's when you really kind of need the expertise of that tour group, because they're going to know what works and what doesn't based on the stats that they're seeing. So, don't be offended if we say that cover may not be best for social media, just because we know what tends to get the most attention and what doesn't. So doesn't mean it's a bad cover.
Interesting.
So yeah, the book stalking.
Catherine asks, what's the average reach on your tours?
So that again depends. It depends on the tour, on the medium. It depends on the blog tour. Whether it's a blog tour, whether it's a social media tour, and it depends on who signs up for the tour.
Talk a little bit about it, and then I of course want you to be able to finish the answer, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but how that works. I mean, it's like how does a blog tour work? How do you make that happen?
Sure. So when we start a blog tour, we will do a sign-up process where we have a form that they fill out to indicate that they're interested in doing this blog tour. And it's open only to bloggers. If they don't have a blog, they can do one of the social media tours. We also have an unlimited reviewer add-on that people can do, which opens it up to reviewers without blogs as well, because there are a lot of great reviewers in the Christian fiction world that don't necessarily want to mess with a blog. So we open that up to them. Once that's finished, once the sign-up date has concluded, we close out the form, we vet the hosts and make sure that they're in good standing with us. Each client has different criteria. So if they say, I only want bloggers with this much of a reach, then we'll go through and, edit out the ones that don't have that reach, or they only want, exclusively Christian fiction bloggers as opposed to clean reads or mysteries or whatever. And so we'll go through that. Most of the time, it's just whatever we feel, whoever we feel is best. We arrange them by what type of post they want. And so, some people want to do a spotlight, some people want to do author interviews, guest posts, reviews, and we organize it by what dates they're available. And then we send all that out, and we monitor it and monitor the tour once it starts to make sure people are posting. And so we do all the work for you. All you have to do is send us that media kit for yourself, and what you want to do for the giveaway and the review copies, however that works out. So that's kind of how a blog tour works, and there's different stops per day. It depends. Our standard tour is 10 hosts maximum. We try to keep our costs as low as we can, and that's part of how we do that. But then you can add that unlimited upgrade, and it can, have more. So it could be 2 hosts a day. There are some tours that upgrade, and so it can be 10 hosts a day. It just depends on, and so that's going to greatly affect the reach as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It affect the cost, probably, correct?
Yeah.
Can you give us ballpark ranges, Leslie?
Sure.
Asking that. Just give ballpark ranges what this might cost some of us, for example.
Sure. So again, there's a range. It depends on what tour group you're with. Ours are kind of in the middle. There are some that are a little lower than ours. There are some that are quite a bit higher than ours. Our blog tour, our standard blog tour, is $115 for a week. And then you can add the unlimited reviewer upgrade for $40. And then that, we can't guarantee how many reviewers will sign up, but generally you'll get, at least 10 more, at least, for the most part. Again, that depends on the book. But, and that's, when we have tours that are a little bit more expensive than that, and a few tours that are a little bit lower than that, are just our reviewer tour. So it's just reviews. It's not, there's no blog stops, anything. They have 60 days, is $75. And so that, like I said,
that's
those
very reasonable. Seriously.
Thank you. We tried really hard when we were planning ours, because we've worked with authors for years, and we know you guys don't have a lot of extra money lying around. My mom told me when I first started working on this, she's like, you should just write a book and make a bunch of money. I was like, those two things don't go together necessarily. So we really try. We want to make sure that, we're not, doing it for free, because we spend a lot of time working. So we wanted it to be fair for us as well, but there's no need, to charge an arm and a leg for this. So
well, and we've talked quite a bit on the writers chat a lot of times how frustrated we get as writers because we have to do all this extra marketing,
right?
And you have to buy sometimes these big marketing packages are just out of our range, so it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
We want to focus on our message and our writing, and to partner with something like that is at that cost level would really be worth my time.
Well, we hope so. I mean, we try very hard to make it worth your time and to, like I said, give you the most bang for your buck, so that your book may do really well on social media. So we may push you over to that side. And then there are other blogs. Yeah. The audience may be more of an audience that will be reached through blogs. And so we try to customize for every author and make sure you're getting what you need and not just some standard, package that's the same for everybody. So
that's exciting. Are you looking for more bloggers? Just curiosity.
Oh, sure. Always. We can always use more bloggers, because not everybody's interested in every book. So, we try to have as many as possible. And we have a pretty strict standard that they have to meet to stay in good standing with us. And so we vet them as much as possible.
That's one thing I really like about what you do is that we feel like comfortable that they're just not going to disappear. You know what I mean? It's like, that your bloggers are actually going to do what they signed up to do.
Yeah. And other life comes up, and, we had a blogger the other day that had to pull out because she's been sick since October. Oh so, God. It's like, well, of course you can't, you have emergencies in the family, but overall our bloggers do what they say they're going to do. And we reward that by continuing to sign them up. Yeah. Letting them sign up for tours and continuing to put them out there. Yeah. So
is a week, Dory wanted to know if a week was long enough, or should they just do a week, or should they do longer than a week? What's your experience with that?
Well, we usually recommend a combination, doing a week of a blog tour and a week of social media. Or we also have like 3-day packages for social media tours. So you could do just a 3-day version if you didn't want to do the whole 5-day. I believe that my business partner is probably going to shake her finger at me. I believe our 5-day takeover tour price is $180 for putting it across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, things like that. And so if it's a debut author, if this is your first novel coming out, we always strongly recommend a blog tour because it lets readers get to know you, because you can do the interviews and the guest posts. If you're an established author, we may not emphasize the blog part as much and emphasize the social media more, depending on the cover and how many print copies you want to use and things like that. So for the most part, we don't recommend a 2-week blog tour, just because if you do too much in the same medium, it almost becomes overkill. And so, you get overexposure in the same place and people get sick of seeing it. Whereas if you do a concentrated focus for 5 days, which is our week, focused for 5 weeks in a blog, and then 5 days, and then 5 days in a social media tour, you're exposing it in different places. So it's popping up everywhere instead of the same place over and over and over again. So.
And do you recommend having that as the book first comes out, which I'm kind of thinking you would, or can you do that on an old, something that you want to revive that maybe is in your back stuff that you haven't done much with for a while?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do, and our reviewer tours, people really like doing those with some of their backlist titles. If you wanted additional exposure for it, you could do a blog tour like coinciding maybe with an anniversary. Maybe it's 5 years old, or it's 10 years old, or it's 2 years old, and you want to celebrate it again. So we want there to be some sort of reason that we're redoing like a blog tour or something like that. Reviewer tours.
Seasonal would be another one,
Right. Yeah. Seasonal. Exactly. If you've got a Christmas book or Easter or whatever. Yeah. That would be fine. We also have our blind date with a book tours. where we have our readers fill out a compatibility form based on what they like to read, what they don't want to read. And this is only for backlist titles. So it's for titles that are a year old or more. And we match your book to a reader that, and we also use their Goodreads accounts so that we try to make sure that, we're not giving it to somebody that hasn't already, that's already read it, already got it. So as long as they keep their Goodreads account updated, which we emphasize over and over again, then I go in and I stalk their Goodreads account and match the books. I love it. So that's another option as well.
What a fun thing to do.
Yeah, our readers have been having a lot of fun with it. So, and for the most part, I think we've matched to about 400 readers so far since we started doing the blind tours. And I would say there's been maybe 5 times where they decided that they didn't like the book that we sent. But for the most part, it's been a good match for everybody. And so that's been a lot of fun to see. Really and they'll put it on social media and stuff because they love it. It comes wrapped. Usually we encourage you to wrap it if possible. And so they don't see it. They get all excited. So it's a lot of fun. So we have a lot of options for backlist titles as well as current. When you're first, releasing a book though, optimally you want to do it right when the book comes out if possible. Sometimes it's not possible because, if you're with a small press especially, or you're doing it independently, you don't always know exactly when it's going to come out. And so then we may, go a little 3 weeks out or so from the release date because, it never hurts to revive interest in a book and to keep that continuing on after it's, because, generally your marketing is going to be focused right when it first comes out as well. So if we can then come along beside you a month later and sort of, keep interest high again for it, we enjoy doing that. And I think most blog companies would be the same.
Yeah, and it sounds like my other question, it sounds like you just kind of answered it. You accept both traditionally published and self-published and small presses.
We do. Yeah. Our, every tour group is different. I think Prism does, I don't think they necessarily have qualification. They do, Christian, clean, general market books. Just Read does only Christian and clean reads. And you're required to, when you sign up, you're required to indicate that there's nothing in there that, no profanity, nothing, that wouldn't be considered a clean read. So.
And Catherine asked, can you just do, if it's just a digital book, or do you need digital and print? Could be either.
Well, that depends on what type of tour you want to book too. For a blog tour or a reviewer tour, digital is fine. For our blind tours, we require print copies, but you can do as little as 5. You can do up to 10. So, we try to keep that minimal as well. For our social media tours, you will need more print copies just because the book, you can get better pictures and better graphics, better interest if they're looking at a print copy.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. So anything else? Any other questions about the blog tour process? I wanted to say too, real quick, that one of the things that's important when you're going into buying a tour package with a company is that these tours are not necessarily meant to increase sales. That's a long-term goal. So you may not see immediate results in sales, but our hope is that as the exposure increases, they're going to continue to see that book popping up everywhere and say, that's the book that's been all over Instagram, or I saw this book on so-and-so's blog, and then so-and-so other blog, and, so I'm going to buy it. So really the point of a blog tour and social media tour is to increase exposure for the book, which will then accumulate into greater sales. So sort of buyer beware. If a tour group says, we will increase your sales by such and such %, you probably need to turn around and run the other way because they just, that's too impossible to predict. We just can't. We don't know what people's interest level is going to be, but we're going to do what we can to get the book out everywhere and increase the interest. So when they see it online or in a store, they're more likely to buy it.
Melissa asked, what do you recommend authors with uncertain publication dates do when approaching you for a tour? I mean, at what point do we approach you and what point do you talk to you about it? Because some of these works in progress go on for quite a while.
Right. And we understand that. And so if you can have a ballpark and say, I'm planning to release this in August of 2020. So, okay, but you're not sure. So we're probably going to recommend doing something in September, just in case. Because that way we don't have to start over and restart and, move it around as much. We still may have to if you decide it's really not going to come out until October. So, okay, let's move it out a little if we can. But we'll probably, especially if books need to get to people for review or whatever, we will probably go out about a month from when you think it's going to be out. Again, to continue that, exposure and awareness of the book, but not to be so closed in on dates. We run into that a lot with cover reveals where it gets kind of iffy. And so those are the ones we finagle around kind of the most and have to move around on our calendar, but it's just usually a 1-day thing. And so it's easier for us to move it to a different date. But I would just, when you would contact us, we have a form through our website to fill out to give, and then we'll give you more information. Just tell us, I think it's going to be in August, but it may be in, we may not make that. So we had a situation the other day where it was a small press. They thought it was going to be released November 1st. Turns out it's not going to be till December 1st. So we just kind of flipped the tour a few weeks later. Fortunately, it's a year out, so we had plenty of room to move that around. So yeah, we can do that.
And do you have just a fun success story of maybe an author that you worked with that neat results or something that you
we do. So we did a tour for Eva Marie Everson's The Ornament Keeper that came out last year. We did an Instagram tour for that. And she went to a conference not long after the Instagram tour, and the books were fresh off the presses. I mean, they, had them from the warehouse, and she had a lot of them and put them out on the display table, the bookseller's table. And they sold out within like a couple of hours, I think, because people kept saying, that's the book I've seen everywhere on the internet, and they would buy it. And so she had to go get another, shipment of books in really quick. So she was ecstatic. We were ecstatic. That was one of our favorite things. We've also had, we've done some tours for some Love Inspired books recently, and Love Inspired Suspense, and those have debuted at, on the Publishers Weekly bestseller list and ECPA. And so we've been really excited about those. Those have been a lot of fun. So yeah. One thing I do want to say quickly, if you're going to book a tour with well, even if you're just doing your own, with gathering your own bloggers, but especially if you're doing one with a campaign that you're paying for, make sure your book is on Goodreads, and that's the minimum. I mean, it has got to at least be on Goodreads before the tour starts. And preferably a pre-order link needs to be up if possible too on retail sites, because you're paying money to get people interested, so that we can do this focused campaign so that people become interested in your book and this call to action. If they have nowhere to go to buy the book, then you've just wasted your money. So we don't want that. We want you to be as equipped as possible with those links so that we can do those calls to action and get that out there. So, yeah.
One more question. Would it be
Sure.
okay to offer a giveaway to capture emails through the blog tour?
Yes, we always recommend giveaways for blog tours and social media tours. We always have a standard of visiting the author's Facebook page, because Facebook has rules that we can't say you have to follow them for an entry, but we can say you can go visit them. And then we always offer you 2 other slots for entry options in the giveaway. So if you want to do your newsletter, we can put that in there. If you want to do social media or BookBub, BookBub's been really popular lately to follow on BookBub, and newsletter. Those are probably our 2 most common ones that we've had lately. And yeah, we can do that. And if you need the email addresses later, we can send them to you, but hopefully you should see that uptick in your newsletter list anyway, to know. And then, yeah, and we do all that work. We do the Rafflecopter and all of that. I would think every tour company would do that, and the graphics and everything. So we just send you a list of what we need from you, which is usually just links and the book copy and what you want to do for the giveaway. And then we do it all from there. So we try to make it as easy as possible.
What are popular giveaway items?
So we actually discourage giving away just a copy of the book because it discourages people from going to buy it. Well, anyway, because they don't want a chance that they're not going to win. Right. But we have found that the giveaways that get the most attention are gift cards. It doesn't seem to matter where. It can be Amazon, Starbucks, Barnes and Noble, just a general Visa gift card. Those are definitely the most popular. Also, it's also fun. We get a lot of interaction when they do like a gift basket that complements the tour or the book. So, if you've got like you were saying, if there's a book set in England around a tea shop or something, and then they put together a little tea package giveaway. And that's always fun too. And you can include a copy of the book in something like that, or you could do a book and a gift card. But generally it's ideal to do something besides just the book. It tends to not get as much attention for the tour. And people then aren't going to necessarily go click to buy it because they're like, oh, well, I'm going to win one. So, and then they forget by the time the giveaway's over, if they didn't win, they forget to go back and buy it. So we encourage you to do gift cards or some kind of fun complimentary gift package for the
do you have a
it doesn't have to be big.
Do you have a tendency to do more fiction than nonfiction?
We do. Yeah.
That's what
we
I was
do.
gathering.
Yeah. Celebrate Lit does a lot of nonfiction as well. And so a lot of times we'll refer clients to them if we don't think that we do some nonfiction, but it just needs to be a fit for what we know our bloggers and social media hosts are interested in. So, sometimes we never mind referring people elsewhere if we don't think that we're going to be the best match for you and for your book. So we do mostly fiction though.
Okay.
And Prism, I think, does almost all fiction. So, yeah.
This has been great. You are a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you. I told you in my bio, I can't quit talking about books. So
I just love it. And you've got a passion for them and you found just your right niche.
Yeah. It's been a blessing. It's been a blessing.
This is really great.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so honored.
What we'd like to do is invite everybody back on and kind of see if anyone else has last minute questions in the last 5 minutes or so. So come on back in and join us. And
party time.
If you can't get party. And if you can't get back in, sometimes, as we say, we put you in Writers Chat jail if you come in and we take you off video. Just put it in the chat that you can't get back in, and we'll try to release you as quick as we can. On that way. And you got everybody come on in and stuff. Any of you that are joining us video wise and stuff have an additional question in just a few minutes we have left? There's Evelyn.
I did have another question.
Sure.
The Instagram tour just sounded so cool because, like you said, people really want to make cool looking pictures and
they do so good. Yeah.
And I'm not good at that at all. So, like, if I don't even really do much on Instagram, is that still a good idea for me to do an Instagram tour, or should I try to do something that I'm involved in more? Because I might.
Well, it depends where your audience is that you're aiming for, of course. But I never discourage Instagram tours if the cover fits for social media, because it's a whole new audience. And even if you're not active on social media or on that medium, but if you have an Instagram account, that's fine, because we'll tag you in it and send people over there. I mean, you want to post something every once in a while, but you don't have to be, an avid Instagrammer for an Instagram tour to still be effective for you.
Okay. Yeah. That was my question, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Well, this has been great today, Carrie. Thank you.
Jean.
Thank you so much for being with us. While we're still on the recording, I want to mention next week on that way we're privileged to have Shelley Hitz with us next week. She is the founder of Christian Book Academy. It's a membership site that has again a wealth of information for people, but she has such good experience on just a wide variety of, especially in the area of self-publishing, but in a wide variety of things. So mainly we're going to focus on, she's got some tips on organizing your book and organizing your computer files. So that's always something, I think that's things we've touched on before. And it's just recently been running some stuff on helping to make your books more interactive, more participatory with your readers. So those are some of the areas that we're going to kind of delve in with on Shelley. That'll be next Tuesday. So we're happy to have her with us. She's from Christian Book Academy. Johnny, I'll turn it over to you for concluding things and wrapping up.
All right. Well, Carrie, thanks again. This has just been super.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to have been invited to speak. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been great. We're really glad you're here. So if you're watching on the replay, we appreciate that, and we thank you for doing that. We do invite you to join us live almost every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. And I guess we'll close it out for now, but stay tuned. Stay here for the after party. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Righty. Bye. See you next week.